I'm trying to figure out why we don't do this, why it takes something else to sort of create these events. I'm thinking it's more like we are being more childlike, aren't we?
Yeah, it's not grown up. So
yes,
can I come round to yours and make some soup? And can we go and climb a tree? And but I think that's what I'm trying to work out what the work's about with the theory, because I think there's a lot at the moment about motherhood and children as an art making practice and everything. But I think I'm interested in the mother or in the nurturing space, but not interested in working with little children, but we're working with the child or the unprocessed or unresolved within us as adults. It's about that.
It's about reawakening it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we suppress it so much in adult life. Because that's what you do as you grow up. I mean, you see that with Barney, won't you, and Henry? They're asserting their independence, aren't they, from the parents? And putting away all the childish things.
There's also that thing, so why can't you ask someone to give you love? Why does it have to be, or whatever, a male-female marriage, or all these constructs that we have? It's okay, why can't you just do nice things with people as human beings?
It often then goes in the direction of therapy. So you do something for a therapeutic reason. So art therapies, but just to do something which has some therapeutic dimensions, but it starts more as a relationship between people, which has something unusual and actually nice. It's more rare.
Life therapy. Maybe we need to bringing this into consciousness, isn't it?
But also, is it that we need therapy because we don't spend enough time loving each other and just spending time talking, sharing, doing what we're doing now, we're too busy. Yeah.
I don't know if we are busy though.
We're distracted, very, 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 very distracted all the time.
And also we're very afraid of letting our guard down, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're presenting ourselves. Because we've worked so hard to get this sort of kind of adult thing. And then to undercut that's quite a difficult thing to do. Little lecture about John Clare before we arrive in Helpston, Northamptonshire, which is his home village, and we are visiting his cottage where he was born and brought up. I'm not very good on dates, but it's the end of the 1700s, beginning of the 1800s. He was literally known as the peasant poet. Son of a labourer, very, very poor family, and like a lot of the people in the village, they just lived on little scraps of work, seasonal work, and like all the villagers, they also had the right to graze the common, where they could keep some livestock and pick wild fruits and trap rabbits labour in the fields to keep bread on the table. What really made life difficult for him, apart from the poverty, was the contrast between being labelled this famous poet and being suddenly famous as a young man, which is difficult for lots of people, and the Enclosure Act, which I forget the date of, but was again towards the end of that century. And the Enclosure Act was when all the landlords and people who owned the land decided they'd get rid of all the common land, fence everything off, portion everything up, create fences and hedges, and make a logical patchwork of the countryside. So it then meant that people who didn't own land, people like the gypsies, who John Clare was also very friendly with, went away. Lots of the farm labourers and people like that, because they couldn't find work throughout the year now, and they didn't have any means of being independent, migrated to the big cities like Manchester and all the things that were starting the Industrial Revolution. But because John Clare was so much part of the countryside, he couldn't take this. It actually sent him over the edge. So he was admitted to a mental asylum in Epping Forest. And he kind of disappeared from view under this cloud of being nuts. But he did an amazing thing. He decided he would walk home. So he walked up the Great North Road, which is now the A1, all the way from Epping Forest back to his home village of Helpston. He just ate grass from the roadside, and he wore out his boots. He slept in ditches, and he eventually made it. But after that, he was sent to the Northamptonshire asylum, where I think they treated him more sympathetically, and he ended his days there. Well, he kind of faded from view for a couple of centuries, really, until he was rediscovered by poets, contemporary poets, in the 20th century. And there was a kind of a John Clare revival. And we were lucky enough to get caught up in this in the 1970s, and read a lot of his poetry, went to some courses with the good old WEA, and became reacquainted with his work, and he became well known again, and is now to be found in most anthologies. Personally, he does mean quite a lot to me, because while this was going on, I was carrying the children for the most part, especially the last two pregnancies.